Hello, this is Yo Sensei. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn the basics of Rhino. It's a very first introduction to Rhino as a software. And in this one, we are going to learn how to navigate within the software and using very basic tool to get you up and running with the software. One thing that I would like you to get is we would like you to have this kind of 3-button mouse. So this is the left, we call this part to be left mouse click, and this is right mouse click, and this is scroll wheel. So we will be using those 3 buttons in Rhino constantly. So it's highly recommended for you to have this kind of 3-button mouse. Okay. So let's get to it. This tutorial will be using a file that you can download from the description part on the YouTube. Okay. So so this is the file. When you open this file, you will see this kind of interface. So first thing that that you will see is that this file is organized in layers. And so first, when you take a look at this, you will see a bunch of layers in this area. However, what you don't have is you can't really read the entire part of this layer. So what I recommend you to do is to expand this part by dragging this line, and then expanding this part by dragging this part, so that you can read what's inside of the layer. Okay, so so let's get to it. And sometimes your panels can be hidden here, so you can click here to show and this. Okay. So first thing that we would like to do is this is the very basic screen of Rhino. So you have this top view, and this is front view, and this is perspective view and right view. So what this means is that you are looking at this object from different points of view. So for example, if we have a an object like this, Rhino, this is front view, this is right view, and this is a top view, and this is a perspective view. So you're looking around like this. Okay, so so this is how the cameras are working on Rhino. So so you can use this. So when these viewports are active, when you click on inside of the viewport, this tab becomes blue. So what that means is that this viewport is active, and it's going to be pretty important for running some commands to run inside of active viewport. So this is really important. So in terms of the navigation, to pan inside of Rhino, you can right drag on your keyboard, on your mouse. Right mouse drag is to pan. Okay. And to zoom in and out, you will be using this scroll wheel. Okay. So if you use the scroll wheel in each viewport, it will zoom in and out. So pan and zoom. Okay. And but inside of the perspective view, when you actually right drag, it's going to spin or rotate the view. So so this is slightly different. So if you hold Shift key on your keyboard, and then right mouse drag, and that's going to give you pan. Okay, so please go ahead and try it for a while and get familiar with interface. This is like riding a bicycle. So if you just get familiar with this, and it's going to become very, very natural. So keep trying and test it out. Okay, so then we are going going into the second layer. So when you look into the layer panel, like this. What you are going to find is that shaded modes. So if you click on this shaded mode, this part is active layer. So if you click on the shaded mode layer, this layer becomes active. So now we would like to hide the viewport navigation layer. So turn off the light bulb. So that's how to hide the layers. Okay. So now what it says here is to create a sphere and 3D box and right-click top tab and change shading mode and try this for other viewports. So inside of this, so we can also expand and expand each view. So in this case, I am going to double click the perspective view. Okay, so if you double click the perspective view, you can expand and focus onto the view. If you double click on other type of views, it will do that too. So now I'm going to double click perspective view and go into this part, the 3D object icon, and then go and find a sphere and find sphere center radius. So you can click in the middle and then move your mouse and click. Okay, so I made a sphere. And I will also make a 3D box. So that would be this box command. So click and click and click. It's not dragging, it's just click, click, click. Okay, so we have a sphere and we have a box. Okay, so to change, so right now it is showing as a wireframe mode. So this object is actually a surface, but it's just showing as an outline. So what you want to do is right click on perspective tab. And then there will be wireframe, shaded, rendered, ghosted, X-ray, technical, da, da, da. So you can try a different thing. So first I would like to change it to shaded mode. And shaded mode is going to give you very surface as a solid color. And you can read the three-dimensionality of this object. You can change it to rendered mode. Render mode is going to give you materiality, and when you apply materials and things like that, it will read as a render. Next one is ghosted, and ghosted is similar to shaded mode, but it's going to give you more of kind of transparency so that you can see the relationship between different objects. Next is X-ray. X-ray also shows what's behind. Technical, kind of outline of things. Artistic viewport is not very artistic. It's kind of ugly. Pen. Pen's kind of cool. It gives you more like a sketched type of vibe. I don't like the paper grain in the background. Arctic is very white and kind of sharp type of imagery. Ray traced is it's a pretty much rendered viewport, and we will get into that later. But it's a real-time rendering. So now what I normally use is only these three: wireframe. In general, I only use wireframe and shaded and rendered. Wireframe, shaded, rendered, and ghosted. And other ones I don't really use. So the reason that we use between wireframe mode and shaded mode and ghosted mode is that sometimes when you're having a very big file, it gets very heavy when you're running rendered mode or shaded mode. So the wireframe mode is the lightest way to display your objects. But sometimes you need to see what's solid and what's not. So you can choose to use shaded mode or ghosted mode. And so, you will be always going back and forth between different viewport types. You can assign different viewport settings to different viewport as well. So you can change it to ghosted for this and rendered for this. So in general, I would keep my top view, front view, right view to be wireframe view, and then keep my perspective view to be a little bit more shaded. Okay, so that's shaded mode. So you can test it out and try it for yourself. Next up is selecting objects. So selecting objects is really interesting thing in Rhino. So let's get to it one by one. So this one is kind of messed up. So I will change this. Okay, so in this one, so selecting objects is really interesting. So you can, when you click on an object, Rhino will highlight this as yellow color. And so what that means is that it's always, right, everything that you have selected, in order to move or copy or rotate and do all these things, you have to select your object. Okay, so yellow means to be things are selected. So what that means is that in this square layer color tab right here, you don't use yellow for object color in Rhino ever. So never use yellow for object color, because if you change it to change this to yellow, or can I find yellow? If you change this to yellow, you select the object and you can't really tell which object is being selected or not. So don't never use yellow for your layer color. Okay. So now to select object, you can click to select, right? And if you want to add to selection, you are going to hold Shift key on your keyboard to add to your selection. Okay, so that's how you add your selection to the object. Now, if you want to subtract certain object from the selection, what you can do is you can Control on Windows, click. On Rhino, on Macintosh, you hold Command key and click to deselect. So for Windows, it's going to be Control click to deselect, and Mac, it's Command key and click to deselect. So and Shift is to add. So those are the things. Okay, and then when you're selecting multiple objects, there are different ways to do that. So you can select a bunch of objects by dragging to select. But there is a very interesting kind of trick in Rhino that you can do. So I am going to show you two different types of selection and explain what they are. So if I select my objects, multiple objects from left to right by dragging, it's going to select these objects. If I'm dragging from right to left and select these objects, it will select these objects. I will show it to you again. So from left to right and right to left. So what that means is that when you're selecting objects in Rhino, when you select from left to right, dragging left to right, all of the objects need to be completely included inside of the cursor to be selected. But if you drag from right to left, the objects that are touching the cursor will be selected. So that's different things. Okay. So now, so these are selection method, and you can practice and get familiar with that. Okay. So the next thing is that there will be a situation where you have multiple objects in one place. So if you go to your front view, this works better when you have the top view to be shaded view, shaded mode, or wireframe mode. Yeah, okay. It should be wireframe mode, okay? So what happens is that when you have objects like this being stuck on top of each other, you can see in the front view, you see 4 objects. In the right view, you see 4 objects. But on the top view, you only see 1 object because they are stuck on top of each other. And when you click on one object, what it's going to happen is that Rhino is going to show this list. And what that means is that when you're clicking on this location, there are 4 different objects existing in this area. So what you can do is you can move your mouse and it's going to highlight objects in other views, like perspective. So I'm moving my mouse to second objects, and it's going to show in different places. So this way you can don't freak out when you see this list. What this list means is that there are more than 1 object in the place you're trying to click, and please choose what object you're trying to move. Okay, so that's how it works. So that would be selecting objects from the list. Okay, so next one is moving objects by dragging. So there are a lot of ways in which you can move your objects in Rhino, and so let's get to that. Okay. So there is you can move your objects by dragging, moving around, right? Or you can run move command, which I will explain to you later. But there is this command or interface called Gumball right here. Okay, Gumball. If you're using Windows, you will probably see Gumball at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so what it does is that when you click on this object, click on one object, it's going to show these handles. So these arrows will let you move your objects in one direction. Okay, and then these little square handles will let you scale your objects in different ways. And then these arcs, you can drag these arcs, and then it can rotate your object. So we will get to that later. But I would like to run a little exercise by you trying to move these objects in one line. So what we're gonna do is to take these objects and put them in one line. So in one line. Line. Okay, I'm just gonna speed up the video. Speed up. Slow down. So now I have put together all of the objects in one line on the top view. Okay, but if you take a look at these objects in different view, they are not lined up, and so you have to put them in line in different views. So what that means is that you have to really understand where the objects are being seen from the top view and front view and right view, and to manage their location. So I'm going to go into my right view and then start moving my objects at the bottom. Okay, so now I have all of the objects lined up at the bottom. There are more accurate way of doing this, but we can, talk about it a little bit later. So when you get to this, I guess we can play a little bit more, like to rearrange these objects. So speed up. Speed down, speed down. So now we can, we have, little bit of arrangement like the stairs. So this way, you can move your objects in 3 dimensions using Gumball. Okay, so next one is to copy command. And copy command is a really, really powerful tool. So we can get to that. Okay. So first, let's create a 3D box, which is like this. Okay, so we have 3D box. So now Rhino has many, many different ways of running the same command, okay? And it's very important for you to understand the command line. So if I type copy, C-O-P-Y, and enter, Rhino is going to ask you point to copy from. Okay, so in this case, I can just copy from somewhere on the object. And command prompt says copy point to copy to. So this is going to copy from this point to this point. Okay, and what's really cool about the copy command is that you can keep copying these objects multiple times. And also try using the navigation while you're in the command. So you can still inside of the copy command, but you can actually run zoom and pan and things like that. So we can just copy this one. Okay. Another way of running the copy command is the same thing. So there is this icon right here, copy command, copy icon. So if you click on this, you can just do the same exact thing. So click on this object, select object to copy, point to copy from, and copy it in multiple locations. Okay, so now what I want to do is to copy these objects so multiple times. So run copy command again. Select these, but deselect the text by holding command and click, and then select object to copy. So you can just press enter, and then point two. So you can copy the multiple objects that you have copied. I can select everything and then copy, and then I select it. I can just copy, select everything, control click to deselect. And then, so always pay attention to this area, the command line. And when it says select object to copy, Rhino is asking if you want to add more objects to copy. So if you don't have it, press return or enter. Okay. Okay. So now we have this, and we can actually go into our front view or right view and select all of these and copy again. So we have many objects right now. Okay, so I have managed to create a lot of objects. So select everything. And at the bottom, it will say 6,144 extrusions. So I have created many objects. So that's how you copy your objects. Okay. So the next step is to undo and redo. So it's getting a little bit out of control, and I would like to undo it. So you can either type undo or Command Z for undoing. Okay, and then you can type multiple times to undo. The opposite of undo is redo. So redo is Command and Y. Or on Windows, it is Command Y. On Mac, Command Shift Z. So you can go back and forth between undo and redo, and to get to different state. I think by default, Rhino records 100 undos, so you can go pretty far behind. Yeah. Okay. So that's undo and redo. Okay. Okay, so the next part is rotation tool. And rotation can be found in layer 8. So we can rotate this object in very many ways. So you can use the gumball. So when you have this object selected and have gumball option on at top or at the bottom for Windows, you can rotate this object using by dragging. If you want to rotate for 90 degrees, you can hold Shift, so it will snap to the Cartesian angles. And also you can single click the arc instead of dragging. You can type numbers. So if you type 45, then it's going to become 45-degree angle. For some reason, Rhino's number is counterclockwise. So if you want to rotate towards 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you can type minus 45. So that is one way. But with this methodology, you can only rotate this object from the center point. And so with rotate tool, you can specify which point you want to rotate from. So click on this, select this object, type rotate, and then it's going to ask for center of rotation. So you can actually click on the bottom of the curve, and then after that you click on the reference point where this rotation point should go, and then move your mouse or type minus 45. Then you can do rotation tool. So rotation tool can be done through gumball or typing rotate or going to this icon that says rotate 2D. So you can rotate them. Okay. So rotate this line, this cone by 180 degrees. So another way of rotation is that so you can rotate this object by 180 degrees on the top view. Actually, I should show it in 4 views. Okay. So if I rotate this object, it's going to go like this. So it will be affected in how it's going to rotate in different windows. So then you could actually rotate in the other view, right view. So you can actually rotate this object that is in 3-dimensional field. So you could go find this object and then rotate this object by dragging the gumball and then come up with a pretty, non-Cartesian three-dimensional angles. Okay. The last thing that I want to cover in this one is that the rotate command has an interesting kind of option. So in this case, I can select this object and type rotate. Okay. And then center of rotation, I am going to just set it over here. And then I am going to click on this copy option. Okay, there's copy option. So on Windows, it's going to be inside of the command line. So you can just go ahead and click it there. Okay, so now every time I copy this object, rotate this object, it's going to create a copy of it, which is really cool. Okay, but what's going to be more interesting is that I can now type numbers to copy, repeat a copy in a sequence. So I can just rotate and then click on copy on, and then click on the rotation center. And then now I'm going to type 15, 30, 45, 60. That's kind of too much. So I'm going to rotate and then click on the center point. And I'm going to go 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, and 330. So if you divide 360 degrees by 30, then you can create this kind of ones that are in sequence. So now we can also even go into our front view and then run this thing again. So rotate and then click on the center point. And then again, I'm going to have the copy option on, and then I will go 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So if I make it to, so now I have this kind of like really cool three-dimensional fireworks like object. So you can really use rotate tool and copy option to make this whole process automated and go super smooth. Okay. Next one is scaling object. So scaling object is a really good tool. So you can select this tool object, and then you can hold shift on the scale bar, which is right here in the with the little square. So you can hold shift and pull up and pull down to scale. So in this case, this is uniform scaling. Okay. So if you want to do non-uniform scaling, you just don't hold shift, but you just pull this handle. So if you hold shift key, it's going to constrain the proportion of object. And if you release it, it's going to disregard the proportion of the object. And you can also then pull this handle to change this scale too. So that's very, very simple scale tool. Okay. So now it is asking to scale this one by 200%. So all you can do is hold shift and single click. And then scale factor, so 200% is 2. So this has become 200%. And this one, hold shift and click, and 0.5 for 50%. So that's a very simple way of scaling this object. So the next stop is to talk a little bit about the layer system. So layer system in Rhino is very useful tool, and you should really organize the layers. And especially when you're rendering, it's a really great way to organize your materials. So you assign objects into by material and put them into different layers. So good use of layer is really good. So if you click on one object from my layer 9, which is blue layer, then I have this one selected. So if you want to change the layer, you can right click on layer 10, the destination layer, and then move objects to this layer. I think on Windows, it says something slightly different, change object layer. I think that's what it says, but it's essentially the same thing. Okay, so that's how you move between layers. So I select this, and then I will move this object back to this layer. Another thing that you can do is select these objects, and then you can right-click number 10 layer and copy object to this layer. So what it does is that it takes the objects and then copy and move to the layer. So this is, a pretty good way of copying your objects and leave previous version of your works and move on to different designs. So that would be the So the next one is going to be, we are going to draw some three-dimensional objects. So it says draw a 2D circle. So I can just draw a 2D circle using this tool, circle tool. And you can even, also type circle, and it's going to activate this command. Okay, so that's useful. So now, one thing that I would like to talk to you about is the different keys on your keyboard. And so on Rhino, in a lot of cases, Rhino asks you to type enter. Okay, when you decide on something, when you wanna, type numbers or type command enter, right? But the enter key is actually can be also used as the space key on your keyboard, which is the biggest button on your keyboard, can be used as enter key as well. So if you just type enter, instead of typing enter, you can just type the space key. Okay. So after finishing one command, you can actually type enter, or the space key again to activate the last command. So for example, if I rotate object by rotating objects using rotate command, and then after that, I'm gonna go back to somewhere and grab another item and type space again. And then it's going to activate the rotate command. So this is going to really speed up your process. So please make sure to do that. So I will show that to you. So, so in this case, what we want to do is run extrude curve command, EXTRUDECRB. So this is extrude curve command. So if you, so that's extrude curve command, right? So I press enter, and then you can extrude this object to create three-dimensional, objects. So I did that, right? And then if I select next object and I just type spacebar, and it will activate the extrude command. So it makes your process so much faster. Okay, so please remember to press the spacebar works as an enter and also as repeating last command. So if I press enter here, it says extrude curve, select this one, press enter, press space, click on it, press space, click on it, press space. Okay, so that makes your life so much easier than just typing extrude curve every time. Okay, so you can also draw some shapes using this polyline tool. And in order for this to close, you need to click on Smart Track. Okay, for this kind of curve. So you can practically, create any form using extrude curve tool. Okay. Another thing is if you start typing AXT, it auto fills. Okay. So when it auto fills, all you need to do is press space, and then it's all good. Okay. So try drawing a bunch of different shapes using this tool. Okay, so the next layer is a revolve command. And in the revolve, it's a really interesting command. You can create three-dimensional objects by revolving two-dimensional curves. So first, you will type revolve. Select object to curves to revolve. In this case, I will select this one. Enter. Start of revolve axis. So click somewhere around A for start of revolve axis, and then click somewhere around B by holding Shift at the end of revolve axis. Start angle 0, revolution angle 360. So, so we got this line glass. So what it does is that it takes this curve and then it will rotate this object through this axis and then it will create this shape. So I want you to try and draw an apple using this. So, yeah, just try by yourself. Okay, stop the video and try by yourself. Okay, next. I would like to create lofted curves. So loft is a really great tool, and then you keep using this all the time. But what it does is that it will create a surface based on three curves. So if you type loft, you can select here, here, and here, and press enter, and then press enter again. Then it will create this kind of surface. It's a very nice command. Okay. Show it to you again. Loft. Click, 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 click. Okay. So that's loft. However, I think if you try it by yourself, you're gonna get into some issues. So which is if you type loft, and if you click on the right side of this curve, left side of this curve, and right side of this curve. And it's going to create a twisted loft. That's because if you start here and this point goes here and it point goes there. So, and it can also happen in the form of this first 1, 2, no, type loft and 1, 2, and 3. So, well, actually, loft 1, 3, yeah, and 2. So the order of clicking which object also affects how lofted surface is created. So please be careful about that. Okay. So the next one is Boolean difference. So Boolean difference can be activated by typing Boolean difference. Or you can simply type BD. And that's going to activate Boolean difference command. So then you will click the first object, enter, second object, enter. And it's going to subtract the second one from the first one. So if you change the order, you can do it like this. Click on the first one, and then second one. Okay. So you can just try doing different things. So you can create these Boolean objects. So this is a very, very, very basic tutorial, and I hope this is going to get you up and running with Rhino. And so yeah, have fun, try it. There are so many things that you can do with just this one, so keep trying.